How is it going? I hope you are doing just as good as I'm doing today. Because honestly, today was going to definitely be I hope you're doing better than I'm doing kind of day if it weren't for the absolute wonderful people in my life, uplifting me and making me feel really, really accepted. So we're just going to fucking get into it. I got a good bit to talk about, so apologize if I rant for a while, but whatever, I'm feeling great. Basically, physically, I am feeling at a whopping 9.75. It has been a while since I have felt this good. I not only PR'd my clean and jerk at 315 for the first time legitimately. I did hit it the other day, but I pressed it out, so not by competition standards. And I also PR'd my clean. I got 325, but I did not have enough energy for the jerk, which was awesome. Regardless of the miss, I put in as much as I could, and I failed it once and got back on it and fucking nailed it. So happy with that. I have never put 365 on the bar for front squat, and I did 375 for 2 whole reps, and it felt fucking wonderful. It was really good, and again, another technical PR. I'm sure I always knew I had the strength to do these, but I've never been able to actually confidently implement them. And I managed to get up to 455 for a clean pull. And if you know clean pulls, especially at the end of a workout, that shit will burn your CNS like crazy. And I loved it. It felt actually wonderful. It was really good. So I'm on top of the world, honestly. This is the day I really needed. It kind of uplifted my spirits in the way that I absolutely needed. And other than that, mentally, again, it's kind of weird. I'm a bit in the middle, I feel really good now, but I don't want to ignore that I went through a lot today when it comes to overall stress. So, I guess you could say that today started at honestly, at a 5.5, but getting in the gym, making sure I stay committed and consistent, enjoying myself, putting in that negative energy into a positive outlet while also being able to express myself to people that will positively uplift me through that. That is what turned this day around into a solid 9.4, almost a 9.5. But again, it's still a tough day, and I still have a lot to think about when it comes to the future. That's coming very near, but I'm doing great. So just getting into it, I'm gonna talk about my experience with my current roommates. Honestly, I don't even mind if they see this, because it would do me the favor of them hearing it without me actually having to have a whole ass argument with them, because it's just, I don't think it's worth communicating with people who are only willing to argue. So that's just the bare bones of it. But moving on from that, it's more about what I more take away from this is really understanding what it is like to have to put yourself in a positive environment. Because I say it all the time, you are probably negative or feeling that way because you are in a negative environment with negative people that are not uplifting you and quite literally putting you down, even if they don't mean to do it. It's just how it is sometimes. And it's up to you to recognize that and make that change for yourself, because nobody's going to be sitting there waiting to make that change for you, especially the people putting you down. So it's always going to be up to you, no matter how bad the situation is. You got to think about what you're really wanting in life for yourself. Are you really? My girlfriend literally called me out on it. I was obligationally feeling like I needed to stay in this household for the next year so that it wouldn't make it an uncomfortable situation for them. And my girlfriend was like, well, why would you do that if they wouldn't do the same for you? And you already feel obligated to stay, so you're not staying there out of want or desire or wanting to keep up a friendship. You're just staying there to make other people happy. And I'm like, God damn it. Stole the words out of my mouth that I'm literally always talking about this shit in these videos. But you gotta it's, even if you don't mean to, and it's you want, for me, the reason I stayed with it for so long, I don't want to get too personal about it or too specific, but they said some really nasty things about my brother and my girlfriend, the people that I care about most in life. And it was for very petty reasons, literally just stuff about the way they talk, the way that they live their life. Literally just, I cannot express to you how frustrating for me it can be when people judge you based off of how you're living your own life. Like, it's up to you. Like, I'm not telling all the pre-med students that they shouldn't do it because it's just going to lead to a big old life of stress. They might be able to work it out. And hell, if they're happy with that life of stress, then go for it. Who cares? And so when you make that your own personal business and stop talking to someone because of that and making a situation negative, like, that's your own fault. You know, as I always say, you are only as negative as you make yourself out to be. So if you're going to just decide to pick on those personal factors of someone, that's just their innate personality that they can't necessarily control. It's just who they are, and it's the happiest they are. And if they're not hurting anybody or going after anybody, then why do you care? So basically, that's the bare bones of it. I don't want to get specific, but it got to a point where I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm not doing this for me anymore. I originally did it because I say this to everyone, but when I choose to call someone a good friend of mine, even like more of an acquaintance that I don't see them often, but I still talk to them like semi-regularly. Like, if I call you a friend, I'm gonna fucking defend you as much as I goddamn can until I see that you have evidently done something negative towards someone. Because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say that. Sorry, I'm not going to say that bad behavior is okay just because I'm friends with them. It's never a good thing. But if I don't see it, then I don't want to just start dropping them as a friend. I need to like actually get to the bottom of it and be like, okay, well, did you do this? Did you not do this? Like, you tell me and we'll figure it out from there. And for the longest time, it was just, oh no, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. And then I finally brought it up in a very serious manner so that they couldn't joke about it. And I was like, why do you feel this way about these people that I love so much? You know, like, we're friends. And so, like, why would you want to put down the people that I love most in this world? And it was just for those stupid fucking petty reasons. And a good friend of mine said it best. They're not being a friend anymore. They're being a bully. And most bullies don't realize that they're being a bully until they have to go through some shit in their life that calls them out for it. So I was just like, damn, you know, you're fucking right. And it's good to really actually acknowledge that and take charge. So what really bothered me the most about the whole situation was I allowed them to speak slander about these people I love so much because I wanted to defend the fact that they were saying it was a joke. But then the moment we had an actual serious conversation about it, just one-on-one, getting to the bottom of it, I realized that they actually feel that way. And them just saying it's a joke is just a way for them to get away with it and not have anyone try to tell them that they're wrong. And that's a poor excuse of a reason to be a bully. And I'm not trying to be like childish or be like, a lot of people will joke about bullying and be like, oh, whatever, just get over it. But it's like, bullying is a very awful thing, even if it's mostly seen, at least in elementary or middle or high schools. When you get into the big world, people just keep it even more quiet. You know, they try to hide those negative emotions underneath some facade like I'm talking about. It's a very rare and small finite amount of people. Don't get me wrong. This is not a majority of people by any means. But when you run into these people, it is really up to you on how you're going to move on. Because, yeah, you can either just sit there and roll over and let them treat you how they want and just take it and be like, oh, well, I'm comfortable when it comes to the money and the house I live in, so I don't want to make a move. And it's like, no, I'm not going to be happy. That's just me. That's just me putting my ideals and happiness onto the material things. And I'm not like that. You know, I'm a passionate guy. I'm a very emotional guy. So I want to make sure I treat my life the way I would want other people to treat me and how I would want to treat others myself. And even though we've known each other for a really long time and I've done a lot for them and they've at least been there while I was going through a lot, it's not an excuse to allow myself to stay in a negative environment that will only limit me. So I'm moving on. You know, I'm moving out. It's close to our lease, but what was really the most stressful is I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to make a bunch of people go out of their way to try to find housing for me just because I know them. I want to like keep everybody happy without putting my stress on them, and I don't want to be that burden. And a really good friend of mine, Desmond knows who the fuck he is. He says that there are people who either ask for too much or too little, and you don't want to be either of them. You want to be that guy right in the middle where you ask when you are at a bottom of the barrel, you don't know what the fuck to do, and you don't want to. If you don't need to, it's different when you think you don't need to, when you don't need to ask versus when you feel like you are obliged to asking. Because when you think that you're like deserving of that ask, it's gotta like you want to make sure that like it's really deserved. Like I care about these people so much, and I think because I care about them in that way, that's why I don't want to make my life their burden. And as I've said it before, it's never like that. And so when I was honest with them and reached out to a lot of gym homies and homies in general that were in the nearby area about what was happening, asking them if they had a spot or anything, again, totally cool if you don't. Almost all of them were like, let me talk to these guys. I can hit up these other people. Let me see what I can do. And literally within a matter of 12 hours, I've practically solved my housing crisis. And I'm like, the fact that I have this many friends, good friends, that wanted to uplift me in this amazing way, and I've been putting in so much time and effort into these people that were just dragging me down, it really showed today how much these supposed friends that I can't really view them that way anymore were treating me. It's not right. And you got to make sure that everybody's at least just decent to one another. You don't got to be best friends. You don't even got to be acquaintances. But God damn it, be a decent human and treat others how you would obviously want to be treated. Because if these people who are super negative were treated that way, they'd throw a whole goddamn hiss fit. And they know it. So regardless, take it with a grain of salt. That's just all my experience. I kind of just, these videos are sometimes a way for me to vent and just kind of relate to the people, the public. So it's nice to hear what other people have to say, and whether that's positive or negative, it's always good to have new perspective. And like I said before, I went to the gym and had a lot of homie talks today to get out these negative emotions in a more positive way. So now mentally I feel fucking uplifted. I feel awesome, and it doesn't even seem that stressful anymore of a situation. So the only thing that's going to stress me out is if I let these negative people make me a negative person. And God damn it, I'm not going to let them do that. It's just, that's not who I am. I've always been one to try to take charge of my life. I've been through too much not to try to do that every time. So I'm going to do my best to withhold my own principles and happiness without getting in their way. I want them to move on in the most progressive way possible, because by expressing positivity to them, rather than reflecting that same negativity, they might be able to grow into better people in the future. And that's enough. I don't want to make any drama, and I don't want to make anybody a more negative person, because, again, I don't want to be a negative person. Even though I try to be as positive as a person as I am, and even if it's valid for me to get up in their face about it, me yelling at them solves nothing if they are not willing to communicate. So I'm going to leave it be, keep getting my shit out in positive ways, loving life, and loving my lifts. And having days like today where I can turn my shit around on a dime because of the support group and the positive environment that I've created around me. And I've put myself in the situation to where I can flourish at the best rate possible. So, let me know how your lifts are going. Let me know how life's been going. I love hearing from you guys. But just be safe, love the people around you that treat you well, because you might not see them for a while. And especially when you start moving around and when you graduate schools or whatever, it gets to that point sometimes. So just treat them how you would want to be treated. Be a decent, positive person, and you will get decent positivity back 9 times out of 10 every fucking time. You'll see me back here tomorrow with some heavy ass squats, and I'm gonna try block snatching out because I'm trying out some new variations in my Olympic lifts that I haven't done in a long time, just to take the strain off of my joints a little bit because it's gotten too much this past cycle. But I'm excited to try some new stuff. I always liked switching it up and seeing what I got the most energy to do. So that's what I'm just gonna keep on committing to. It's not as complex as it needs to be. It's just taking that next first step with the most positivity you can and keeping that support group around you. So that's all I got. I appreciate you sticking around. See ya.